Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the JEDI Way. Here on the Outlaw Nation, I am the Outlaw John Rocha, also known as Rocha Fett, sometimes joined by these two wonderful people. First up, the great and powerful Laura Kelly. How are you, Laura?
I'm doing amazing. I'm so happy to be done with Thanksgiving. That's one down. We got one more holiday to go. I guess two with New Year's. And then everything can just be quiet for a little while. That'll be nice, won't it?
Yeah, as you notice, I've taken down my green screen because it is the holiday times, and I've got my little Happy Holidays thing up there. I've got my Noel sled up there. I've also got this Merry Christmas sign that I hang up on the ledge here at some point. So a lot of fun to be had here in the Outlaw Nation studios now. Green screen gone for December, so just having some fun with that. But I hear you, Laura. The holidays can be quite exhausting. Kevin Smets joins us as well. Kevin, you are hanging out there. It seems like you're on location on Coruscant at night from the angle that you're at, but your new camera, your new light, you're hanging out with us here at nighttime. How are you doing, man? How are you feeling, brother?
Speaking of exhausted, yeah, the camera just came in today, and I'm really good at editing, but like all the production stuff's like since I graduated from film school, it's a lot different. So you two were helping me out here when I was trying to get it going. I'll get a better lighting system up, but yeah, it's nice. It looks like Gotham City or Coruscant,
yeah.
And I think I have like maybe 60 minutes on this battery because I couldn't even figure out how to plug it into the wall because I'm stupid. So we'll see. And then I helped with the breakdown today, and I noticed like how frantic mine are compared to how nice and like well put together Laura's and Rocha's are normally. Like mine looks like the Inquirer. Like if you look at it, there's like big text and bold writing and stuff like that. So sorry, you guys are gonna have to deal with that throughout the document today.
I actually like the big text. I appreciate it. Yeah. I feel bad now that I've always done small text. I'm like, you can zoom in, but I like that you did big text. I approve.
Yeah. No, I'm getting old, so it's hard to read. So
Flash, Mr. America and all ships at sea. That's what it reads looking at yours. But I don't mind, dude. It's a good mixture. And one of the reasons we love having you on the show, Kevin, is our third is the, kind of the fun ways you approach things. So I think it's a great thing, brother, man, honestly. So
don't funny how? Like a clown? I amuse you?
I didn't say funny. I just said interesting. So, but yeah, we're going to get into a lot of things here on this show. This is going to be a bit of a big show. Because it's been a few weeks since we've been together. So although we were together for lunch and we took a picture, which was a lot of fun. It was great seeing both you guys in person, but we are back with the show Star Wars. We're going to jump into some Dave Filoni news, put some tributes out for Marc Thorpe, talk some Bo Katan news as well, get into some more stuff going on in the world of Star Wars with Taika Waititi's conversations here about his new film, Baylan Skoll, season 2. There's some news about that as well, and also maybe get into some of our thoughts for what we want to see from Star Wars TV in 2024 as we're about to turn the page into 2024. We're like, what, 4 or 5 weeks away from that happening, which is pretty crazy to even think about, but that is what's going on. And as you're watching the show, please remember to subscribe to the channel. Please remember to follow these two wonderful people and myself as well on all our social media handles, which you see there at the bottom of the screen, and leave comments as we go along here for the stuff that we're talking about. And let us finish a story before you assume we haven't brought something up before you leave a comment. So just a little warning with that as well. All right, well, let's jump into our first thing, and that's absolutely Dave Filoni. It is massive news here that came across the wire, and this was in a Vanity Fair interview. He essentially has been made the creative content officer for Lucasfilm for Star Wars. He'll be reporting directly to Kathleen Kennedy, working alongside head developer Carrie Beck. He'll keep his executive vice president title and his director role on the New Republic film. But this is a fascinating situation to consider here, Laura, as Filoni coming off the heels of his Ahsoka, which maybe wasn't the best well-received series. Some people like it, some people don't like it, but certainly the reaction to this news has been mixed, where I think a year ago, 6 months ago, this would have been unanimously praised and accepted. We've got some mixed reactions here. People worried that the Andor type of Star Wars won't work under Dave Filoni. How much experience does Dave Filoni have to tell other creators what's great, what kind of Star Wars we're going to have? So a lot of questions with him coming into this new role, but it feels like Kathleen Kennedy has been grooming him for this role for quite some time over the last few years. So what are your thoughts when you hear this news? What was your reaction? And what are your Are you excited? Are you not excited? Are you trepidatious? What are your thoughts on this?
I guess I'm kind of indifferent because I kind of thought that this is what he already did. Like I thought his new title that he's adding to executive vice president, which is already on his business card, but I thought that that was kind of what he was already doing. I thought that was already I didn't realize that this was like news. And so when this news came out, honestly, I think I'm sort of just on the fence. It was really interesting seeing all the fan reaction. And if this news had come out in 2018 at the end of Rebels, I would have
Yeah.
been absolutely psyched. And I say this as somebody who really enjoyed the Ahsoka series. But I think that all of these shows that Dave Filoni, these live action series that Dave Filoni has worked on since then would really benefit from a writer's room. And so I'm a lot more interested in seeing what comes of some these, recent negotiations that happen with the WGA and how that affects things in Star Wars and in these live action series. I kind of think that as far as him being chief creative officer, it's probably just kind of full steam ahead. I don't really expect a ton of changes. I know that he made the comment where, when he's brought into the development process now, or I guess before now, it was really like when things were already in process, already developed, stories had already kind of moved past a certain point. And the change really is that now he's going to be brought in a lot earlier.
Yeah.
As they're working with these storytellers. So I think that I imagine maybe it'll change some of the processes on the back end. I just am not think we're going to perceive much of it on our end from an audience perspective. But I don't know. Kevin, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I wonder what's going to happen with his splitting duties. Like, he's pulling a James Gunn here, isn't he? He's going to be directing a movie. He's directing a movie, and now he's heading the charge. So, as someone that I know that he loves George Lucas's vision and wants to have everything, hopefully with him, I don't know if something like what would the difference between The Force Awakens and then The Last Jedi and then The Rise of Skywalker, how everybody was just contradicting. I think there'll be a more thorough line throughout everything. So that's good. This conspiracy theorist in me, it's the same week that they canned the KOTOR remake. So that doesn't give me fond hopes for a future of anything. And that's all on Reddit and stuff, speculation about that. But as far as that goes, I don't know what Filoni's plan is. Maybe he did it because he wants to clear the way. He canceled the game because he's going to make a movie. Highly doubt it. But I do think that it's capable hands. I mean, it kind of goes back on all those rumors about Kevin Feige taking over, right? Am I wrong about that?
Yeah.
Or is it different tasks that they would have? Do you know?
Well, no, I think the Kevin Feige thing is dead. I think Iger is like, you just focus on fixing Marvel. You leave Star Wars alone for now. I'm not going to give you two massive franchises to try to fix because clearly you being stretched too thin is what's causing the Marvel, or is an element of what's causing the Marvel issues. So I can't imagine that that's still happening, Kevin.
Yeah, we'll see. Sorry, there's a cry. Normally, my child's not here when I record, so there might be. I'll be on mute when I'm not talking.
Oh, it's fair point. Fair point.
She just got home. She's trying to knock on the door and say hi to Daddy, and she can't do it right now. So. I'm bunkered in here like I don't know. Someone's trying to bang like a horror movie. She's trying to get in. It's like the Jurassic Park. Going to figure out how to open the doorknob, and I'll be in trouble. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of fan reactions. I wrote that in the thing. Some fans hate it. Some love it. I saw like Photoshop fans of like the Emperor, but instead of the Emperor back of it, it was like the back of his cowboy hat. I mean, they have that quote, that Rocha, that nobody hates wrestling more than wrestling fans. And I feel like nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans sometimes. Like everybody's going to complain about something. I think give it time. Obviously, people weren't happy with a lot of the direction that Kathleen Kennedy was going. So I think that, this is going to be a good step in the right direction. And we'll see. I don't know why who are they wanting? Like with the people that were being negative about it, who exactly are they wanting to step in for this role and be the savior, So,
people who are negative rarely offer solutions. People who are negative to be negative rarely offer solutions. That's been my experience on social media. But, look, he's saying all the right things, right? Which I think is smart of him at this point as Dave Filoni assumes this role. And I think you're right to compare it to James Gunn, Kevin. There's a lot of similarities here because although James Gunn, a much more experienced filmmaker at this stage in his life, stepping in to take over DC and essentially guiding and being in charge of other filmmakers. Maybe there are filmmakers who see him as that he's better than, that they are better than him as a filmmaker, or that he's not necessarily their equal. So how will they take his advice, his guidance, his suggestions? We'll see. Same thing here with Dave Filoni. He's only got one actual live action series, not even a movie, series under his belt. And that is Ahsoka. Of course, he helped with Mandalorian with Favreau, but that's seen more of a Favreau type of thing. And the Book of Boba Fett was a bit of a mixed bag overall. And some people might argue that Ahsoka is a mixed bag for sure. And Filoni said these comments is, I'm not going to be telling people what to do, but I do feel I'm trying to help them tell the best story that they want to tell. I need to be a help across the galaxy here, like a part of the Jedi Council almost. And he says, literally hours now of Star Wars telling I have done. See, I even phrased that like Yoda, he says. And he says, I can also lend the perspective on the challenges that telling these stories will present. I feel more capable of actually helping, being helpful just outside of just saying, well, Jedi are like this and Sith are like this. So a lot of good comments from him overall. But yeah, the fandom seems to be reacting in a mixed bag because, as I brought up earlier, some people will like the Andor type of storytelling. Some people like the more grittier elements of Mandalorian, fear that Filoni's approach, although there were some dark elements of Ahsoka, and there have been dark elements in Clone Wars and Rebels, they feel like maybe he's not going to go far enough into it, and it's going to keep it a little bit safer. So I think that's a lot of future fearing at this point, and we have to see what he can do. But I can't imagine they wouldn't want to have multiple points of views and perspectives, because that's kind of led to the success, in my opinion, of Star Wars over the last few years. So, Laura, do you think there's a danger? I know you're not the biggest Andor fan. Do you think there is a danger that he would maybe keep that Andor stuff out of there, even though you may not want to see more Andor stuff? Do you fear that that more kind of grittier, harder edge Star Wars storytelling would maybe be lost under Filoni?
I don't think so. I like to think that he knows kind of when to, the moments to step in and the moments to step back and let a storyteller tell their story the way they want to tell it. And from what I'm sort of reading between the lines of these articles and some of the comments that he's made on the topic, is that's kind of what he intends to do. He's not wanting to like take over and tell anyone what to do. He just wants to sort of lend a guiding hand, which makes a lot of sense from the person who George Lucas was the mentor of. I think that works out really well. So as far as things like Andor, I think people are getting a little bit up in arms. I think some of it might be justified. I have my own issues with Ahsoka and things that he decided to do in terms of how the Force works in certain people and who becomes a Jedi and who doesn't. There's some things there I don't necessarily love. I kind of hope that some of that doesn't seep into literally any other part of the franchise, but that's just me. And if people have those kinds of strong feelings about Andor, which I know they do, people feel very strongly about that show and love it very passionately, and I totally understand why. I can understand where they're coming from, but I like to think that this is going to hopefully be, like Kevin said, a good thing. I think this is going to be this is going to be a positive overall. I think things like the sequel trilogy suffered from not having a sort of cohesive plan and story and person guiding that entire process. So I think hopefully it's on the up and up from here with this.
Yeah, Kevin, do you have any fears of this? I know we liked Andor. We didn't have to wear berets and put on French mustaches to like it, but we did like it. So what did you think about this? Do you think that there's a do you understand people's concerns, I guess, who really loved Andor and their approach to Star Wars, being fearful that Filoni might try to kind of smooth that out?
I feel that way just because of the rumors and stuff that you hear, the whispers on Reddit and online about in my KOTOR circles about whether he likes KOTOR or not. I think that all avenues of Star Wars should be made. Just because Laura doesn't like Andor, I think she's stoked that there's a show for Andor on it, right? Like just because Laura doesn't like, probably doesn't like kittens and puppies either. But no, I'm kidding.
Wait, how do you wait?
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Make that connection.
I'm a dog person. I'm not a cat person. So
me either. I like dogs better. But no, the thing about it is, there should be all kinds of Star Wars. That's what Visions celebrates, right? Visions is
100%.
so cool. I don't want to lose that. And I think that Filoni was kind of behind that. So I don't want him to silence any sort. Like, I know that people are like so fearful. Like, there should be many different types of Star Wars stories told. I hope there's an anime feature film one day that's told. I hope that they do another, like maybe they do a feature film in the vein of Clone Wars again, not the Clone Wars movie, but but do a dark and gritty one. Do a romantic comedy on Tatooine. Who cares? Like, just let filmmakers have their shot at it. As long as you're not oversaturating the market and there's quality control there. I think, like I said, if Laura is not the biggest fan of Andor, but I don't think she wants Andor not to exist. I think she's happy that it exists. And I think the same way for me is I just hope that Filoni doesn't just always be so strict on like, well, protecting George's vision, and this is the way that George Lucas always did it, that he's afraid to venture out and do other things like a Star Wars horror movie and stuff like that, and I guess in the Ahsoka show they had like the zombies part, but yeah, I mean, I'm torn. I'm actually positive about the news just because I would rather have someone overseeing everything that has ties to George Lucas and worked with George Lucas, like Laura said, was like, that's his mentor. So I think it's in better hands than it was before. But I don't know the fate of some of these more avant-garde type things. I hope that they exist too.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think this is going to be fun to watch. And sadly, I know the Star Wars fans aren't patient. And some, not all, aren't necessarily patient. So will he be allowed to fail or misstep and learn in this role as he goes along? Or will the leash be tight? Will it be yanked? Will he be replaced? Will someone else come in? Those are my concerns, because so many people a few years ago were clamoring for Filoni to take over. Get rid of Kathleen, put in Filoni, put in Favreau. Now you've got your wish. Are you going to be patient with it as he figures this out as he goes along? I think that's got to be a part of this as well, because this is a job he's never had. So are we going to be patient with him as he tries to put this in motion and figures out what works and what doesn't work? And it'll be interesting, too, to see if he'll have as itchy of a trigger finger as Kathleen does when it comes to directors. Will he have the strength to fire somebody? Will he have the moxie to be like, you know what? You're not telling the right story. I can't seem to get it across. You got to go. Will he have that ability like Kathleen seems to have and has no problem doing? In that, it's going to be interesting. And I wonder, in a bit of a more cynical side of me, is Kathleen maybe angling this in a certain way so that some of the heat gets taken off of her and Filoni takes some of the heat for some of the stuff that doesn't work out? And I'm not saying that she's doing it on purpose. I'm saying maybe this is kind of an indirect result, is that people will be like, oh, Filoni, what's Filoni's, what's Kathleen's, what's Favreau's? That's going to be real interesting as these projects come around and come along after Skeleton Crew and after Acolyte, when we see his real influence and all this kind of stuff. And is he going to be involved now with these other two movies along with his movie? How much is he talking to James Mangold? How much is he talking to Oba Choi? How much is he talking to them to figure out what they're doing and matching up with his story? So it's going to be real interesting to see as we go along, for sure. Well, let's move on to our next subject here. And I think, Kevin, you're talking about something that someone really incredible that we've lost in the world of Star Wars.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not the happiest of news, but Marc Thorpe, who was a visual effects and model artist for some of the Star Wars trilogy, the original, Indiana Jones, other stuff. He has died at the age of 77 for Parkinson's disease. So he worked on props and visual effects for The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. It wasn't just limited to that, however. Like I said, Dragon Slayer, Poltergeist, The Explorers, Howard the Duck. Come on, man. Duck World, he's responsible for Duck World. And The Hunt for Red October. So I will say this about like model work. I think that I remember being shocked. So one of my first jobs, I worked for New Deal Studios, and they did a lot of the miniature effects. My first job was working on painting the tiles on the rooftops of Beverly Hills for the Aviator movie. When Leo crashes, when Howard Hughes crashes into the mansions in the Aviator, I painted as a PA. I painted the tiles. Like I was an assistant model maker for that. Awesome. And they did a lot of cool movies that they worked on right when I left the company, though, to do post-production and stuff. Right when I left, the next thing they built was the Tumbler, the Batmobile for the Nolan Batman movies. So I was really bummed. I just missed out on that, but I have a lot of respect for model makers and model making and shooting these things, these elements that they use now, and they still do it to this day, not as much as they did in the past. But imagine back in the day, like, you know, I'm talking about working for a model making company, you know, in the 2000s era and stuff. Like this is back in The Empire Strikes Back. We're talking 1980s, like when some of this was uncharted like territory, right? Like really, like I mean, unfortunately, I don't know exactly the parts from Empire, but I'm assuming he was part of some of all those massive pieces, like the Imperial Walkers and stuff like that. And like, how cool is that? So I know that if you could find it online, not you, I'm saying the fans, his daughter had some nice things to say about him as well. But I just thought it would be remiss to not mention a Star Wars legend like that passing. You know, those original movies, they aren't the same without that, you know, without that feeling of seeing those special effects for the first time. So, you know, rest in peace, Marc. And I don't know if you guys wanted to add anything to it, but yeah, sad day in the Star Wars community about that.
Yeah, she's his daughter Megan is the one who announced his passing on a Facebook post, and of course, Mark Thorpe has an official website as well for his stuff. He created the Robot Wars concept in the early 1990s, which I think is fascinating. And someone who has worked on the original trilogy is someone that deserves a lot of respect and love, because one of the things that people complained about with the prequel trilogy was the loss of practical effects. And certainly Mark Thorpe and people like that were instrumental in establishing the love for practical effects that people have for these original trilogy movies and the things you got to see in these original trilogy movies. So I find that to be something that we should absolutely celebrate and recognize when someone like that has passed on. He was born in San Francisco. He attended Cal State University, graduated from UC Davis, and went along and did these kinds of things. And the tribute on the website reads, Marc had quite a remarkable life. At various points, he raised pet alligators, trained dolphins, built major portions of the Star Wars and Indiana Jones universes, created amazing art pieces, designed toys, worked on custom industrial design projects, engaged in unique performance art, and perhaps most significantly invented the entire sport of robotic combat. So we have him to thank for something like Real Steel and other things that have come around from Robot Wars and robot fights. And he was the main. What's that?
Oh, I was just saying that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool,
and he was apparently the main catalyst and inspiration for a huge and thriving community of highly creative individuals that would have never existed without his unique spark and guidance. So, Laura, your thoughts on the passing of Mark Thorpe and the loss of someone who had such an integral part in Star Wars being the foundational pieces of Star Wars from the 70s on.
Yeah, I don't know if I have too much to add. This tribute that's on his website is really beautiful, and it is really, I love that they added some of these little tidbits about, you know, outside of his work, the fact that he trained dolphins and raised alligators. I'm like, that's awesome. So it sounds like overall for him a life well lived for sure, and so we do pay tribute to him here today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, R.I.P. Mark Thorpe, and of course, survived there by his daughter. And so many artists who were influenced by his work. So to carry on his legacy for sure. And we send our thoughts and thoughts of comfort and strength to his family for sure. All right, Laura, let's move on to our next story here. Let's talk about a certain somebody from New Zealand and his Star Wars movie.
Yes, let's. Our beloved Taika Waititi, unfortunately, was on the red carpet for Next Goal Wins, his new film, and made a comment that just set the Star Wars fandom aflame, telling interviewers that his Star Wars movie is going to piss people off, and it's going to be a Taika Waititi film. So I'm delighted to hear this personally. I am a massive Taika Waititi fan. I've been revisiting a lot of his films lately and a lot of his work. So I was very excited to hear this. And I think it's just his sense of humor being what it is. I think people are reading far too much into it, but I also think he is aware that he stuck his foot in his mouth, because he also did a follow-up interview recently on the Kelly Clarkson show where he talked about how he wants his movie to sort of reflect the joy of the original trilogy and kind of bring that sense of things back into the Star Wars franchise. So I think he hopefully learned his lesson and probably isn't going to say stuff like this again, but it was kind of a funny comment to read. So I don't know, John, what do you think about this? Did you read into this the way that the rest of the Star Wars fandom did?
I just think look, I get it. And people are like, oh, his sense of humor. I get it. But Taika is still very much a niche filmmaker. Yes, he had Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
It was really successful, but you could, how many people can name his other films? Like, was it Eagle Meets Shark and The Hunt for the Wilder People? And, you know,
Boy.
of course, obviously What We Do in the Shadows became massive because of the TV show. The film itself certainly did well for an independent, small film, but it was the TV show that kind of really blew it up into the pop culture mainstream to a degree. So I would be surprised that a lot of people read this and were like, oh, that's just him being New Zealand and his self-deprecating humor. And I get it, of course, because I do know him and I know his stuff. But I also understand people might be like, what the fuck? Like, why would you say something like that? And he does like to get people's goats. He has a bit of a impish style to his humor that I think is intentional, because you don't see Sam Elliott, or not Sam Elliott, but Sam Neill, right? The guy from Jurassic Park. You don't see him, making these kinds of comments on red carpets. You don't see other people from Australia or New Zealand making these kinds of comments. You know, they're chill in certain ways.
Paul Hogan, no Paul Hogan.
Paul Hogan's Australia, but yeah, you don't see them making these kinds of comments in any way. So, but yes, the Kelly Clarkson thing, I think, was more fleshing out of what he's been talking about, and certainly spent it. But I mean, I still don't think this film is ever going to happen, to be honest with you. And I'll be curious.
I have a counterpoint.
Fair. And I'm curious to see how Dave Filoni will go about is he now going to be involved with this new job of his in developing or in kind of guiding Taika's film? Will Taika, who's very much an auteur, will he be listening to Dave Filoni about how to do his style of film with his style of humor that is, quote unquote, maybe going to piss people off? Kevin, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just think that's just him. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sorry. It's been a long week and it's only Wednesday. No. He directed one of the episodes of Mandalorian, right?
Yes, he did.
And that scene where the two stormtroopers couldn't hit that can or whatever, like, if it's humor like that, like, that's just him making the funny joke that stormtroopers can't hit anything, even though Obi-Wan later says blast points are only Imperial stormtroopers are so precise. I never thought about that until just now as it's coming out. Obi-Wan was mistaken. But yeah, I think that Taika is just having some fun. I think he's fearless. I don't think he's going to care what people think. As far as, I mean, yeah, the brass, him saying that, though, with Star Wars fans are so, I mean, a lot of us can be quite, look into every little word and sentence, right? Yeah. So when he's saying it'll be dramatic pause, a Taika Waititi film, like, that's just totally him. But I remember that scene in The Mandalorian and watching it and thinking, like, that was a really funny opening scene with those two scout troopers or whatever, and looking it up. And I'm like, oh, it's him. Of course it's him. So, and that no one was like, you know, really complaining about that. Now, if he's going out to make a movie on purpose to piss people off, that's one thing, but he's not going to do that.
Right.
So I think it's fine. And, you know, the more the merrier. But I want to hear the counterpoint now. Laura seems confident it's going to be made, because I kind of fall in line with Rocha. Like, a lot of people are talking about what comes out first, this one or Rian Johnson's movies, right?
The Rian Johnson.
Okay, so in terms of him not in his movie not getting made, number one, on that Kelly Clarkson interview, he did say it is coming. The movie will happen. He does make that very clear at the end of the interview. Number two, I read an interview recently with him. I think it was with IndieWire, where he was talking about the making of Next Goal Wins. And I didn't realize this movie was made before the pandemic. They were they finished filming it prior to March 2020. Yeah. And I guess he spent like 3 years editing it. And he likes to just take his time. And he has made that very clear. And Kathleen Kennedy has given interviews to Empire Magazine where she has talked about he is slow. We know this. He knows this. He knows that we're waiting. Like, this is just kind of his process. So the fact that he took 3 years to edit this movie, to edit the most recent movie that came out, I'm like, I think this is just how it goes with him. Maybe even more so than other filmmakers, that it's just a slower process. So I'm holding out hope that it will still happen. It sounds like there's just some kind of different things about the way he operates. But yeah, I totally get why some people might be a little bit apprehensive about what we're about to get, especially after Love and Thunder, which I think I stand by it. I think it got too much hate. I don't think it deserved as much hate as it got.
I agree. I liked Love and Thunder. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to his movie when we do eventually get it, which I would anticipate it's probably at least 5 or 6 years away, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll be curious about it too, because obviously his style of humor is very funny for the people who get his style of humor. Yes, that scene with the stormtroopers is funny, but is that the kind of funny that you'll be able to enjoy for 2 hours in a Star Wars universe? Don't forget, Lord and Miller were taken off Solo because they felt that it was at times a little too funny, a little trying to be too funny, or trying to make fun or make light of Star Wars within Star Wars. And I don't know if that's necessarily something they enjoy. Yes, it's funny for the C-3PO adventure, Lego adventures on the Disney Plus channel, right? It's Disney Kids, whatever. That's fine. You can take the piss out of them and those young and those other Lego Jedi stuff. Of course, you take the piss out of Star Wars. It's fun. It's good natured. But if you've got someone who's making meta commentary on Star Wars, I think that's where it gets dangerous. And I wonder if Lord and Miller had elements of that in their Solo film, which is why maybe Kathleen didn't like it. Will this Taika Waititi film do even more of that? I wonder how they'll react. And it's always dangerous, and you got to be aware. I know you want to be the cool, edgy, hip filmmaker and do all these kinds of things and be your own person, but you fuck with the fans, man. It's a dangerous road you're walking, because guess who's not going to show up to watch your movie? And guess how that's going to affect your pocketbook and affect your chances of doing another Star Wars movie. And since he's such a massive fan, I can't imagine he'd want to risk losing the opportunity down the road if this film even comes out. I know Laura believes it will, but if this film even comes out. So I think that's dangerous when you play that.
What gets released first?
Rian
Johnson's Star Wars movie or a real working lightsaber?
Sound off in the comments. A real working lightsaber. We are never seeing
not those ones that people are doing where it's just like flamethrower crazy things. But yeah.
We're never
okay. One more point on Taika. Okay. He did direct the season finale of season 1 of The Mandalorian. So yeah, it had that stormtrooper scene, but that whole episode was phenomenal. So I mean, let's give credit where credit is due.
That's a great point, Laura. You're right. So clearly he can pull that back when he needs to pull it back for sure, and give us a damn good episode of Star Wars for sure. All right, well, let's take a quick break. We'll jump into some more topics here as we go along. And while we're taking this break, please remember to follow Laura Kelly there at @shutup_Laura. Follow Kevin at Kevin Smets. Follow me at The Rocha Says. Subscribe to the channel. Leave comments of all the stuff we've already talked about the first half of the show here as we take this break. And we'll be right back here right after this. All right, let's get into our next thing here. And this is, I think, Kevin, you're going to take us into some after conversations now with Baylan Skoll for season 2, possibly, or of Ahsoka, or where he's going to end up here now that, of course, we've dealt with the passing of the late, great Ray Stevenson, please.
Yeah, I hate to talk more about passings, obviously, but obviously we loved Ray Stevenson's portrayal as Baylan Skoll. And there were some quotes. There's a great article. This whole thing. This article is it the Vanity Fair? I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to see. I have the website here. Where they finally are able to talk about season 2. Obviously, they weren't allowed to talk about it during the strike and stuff like that. So there's tons of quotes. When I'm done talking and one of you guys are talking, I'll scroll up and find the source. I'm sorry. I'm not the Laura Kelly of our squad here. I
think you're right. I think it was Vanity Fair.
Vanity Fair. Okay. I don't believe in sources. I just run with it and fingers crossed. I'm going to be on the hot mic with Rocha next week. I got a big story about Dr. Doom. Just kidding.
But some sources on that show.
I have no sources. My only source is me. But yeah, touching on their final scene in particular, Filoni, I mean, I'll go to the overall, and then I have some other things. I mean, Filoni is very much wishes that Ray Stevenson could have seen it, right? But he was there for celebration and stuff. But he talks about how, as far as the ending and what we're going to do with Baylan, is he says, and I quote, this is from Filoni, obviously there's a story there. We're in a wait and see pattern at this point. And that's the poet. I'm curious what we all think about that quote. We're in a wait and see pattern at this point. But I'm glad the conversation is about Ray and how great he was. I used to have many debates with him and say, Ray, you're the villain here. And he'd be like, I don't think so. I was like, well, I know you don't think so, but you are. And I love that you're playing it like you're not, which is exactly the way Baylan thinks. And we've always said it. The best villains in movies, TV, wrestling, whatever, are the villains that believe that what they are doing is 100% the good and the right thing to do. And to be honest, like, to hear Filoni say that he's the villain. So, like, I didn't think he was a villain. Like, I think that he was going about things the wrong way and it was kind of messed up. But I think he believed in himself that the ends justified the means. But I wanted to kick it back to you guys. What did you guys think when you hear Filoni say we're in a wait and see pattern at this point? Does that give us hope that they will first of all, do they recast or do they go the route where they start using, dare I say it, the AI or not de-aging, but whatever you want to call it, where you bring someone back to life? I know a lot of fans say like Liev Schreiber would be a good person, or Gerard Butler. So what do you guys think? What do you think when he says the word a wait and see pattern? Are they trying to decide whether to just write him off and he'll become a different character due to being at the thing? My daughter, sorry, in the background. Or do you think that they're in a wait and see pattern because they might figure out a way to write him out? What do you guys think?
Laura, what do you think?
Well, I guess I was reading that as they haven't officially announced that season 2 has been greenlit yet, and I thought that's what that was referencing. Which I personally think that it has been. They're just not announcing it yet. Like it was a done deal at some point, and has been for a while, but it's just not. It hasn't been made official. But I think in terms of Ray Stevenson's role specifically, I think recasting is the way to go. I'm sorry, maybe it's too soon to be saying it or talking about it. But I think that you have to continue that story. They laid such amazing groundwork for that character. And I've said it before about other characters in the Star Wars franchise. The characters have to transcend the actors at some point, especially when you're talking about original trilogy people. And I think that principle has to apply here. They created an amazing character, and I really hope that they keep his story going. I don't see them taking it to like a novel or comic book and to get out of having, not having Ray Stevenson on the show anymore. I think they're going to continue it on the show just with a different cast, and they're just maybe kind of waiting till it feels appropriate to announce that would be my guess. But I don't know. John, what are you reading into this?
Yeah, I think what you said at the end there is absolutely right. I think they understand the sensitivity of the loss of Ray Stevenson. I think people really, whatever your criticisms of Ahsoka were, people loved Baylan universally and loved the character. Yeah, and it's a rare thing to have a character introduced in a series, kind of like Ahsoka, where people, at least with Ahsoka, they were initially didn't like her, but then eventually came to love her. But a new character that gets beloved by the fans right off the bat is a rarity in Star Wars. And certainly seeing how much people reacted to Baylan Skoll and Ray Stevenson delivering the right kind of nobility and just gravitas to the role, I think was so great to see. So you don't want to just jump and go, okay, we found someone else to play him. I mean, Cara Dune hasn't even been recast if they're going to go that route with that character. So you wonder how long they're going to wait. I think they just want to see what they're going to do with the story, where they're going to go with this, and then time out the announcement that someone is going to take over this role. And remember, where he's going, there is a way where you can write it that he's affected physically by where he's going and being exposed to this level of a Sith power or dark force power. Will this affect him? Will this age him? Will this do other things to him? I mean, I could see someone, and I don't want to say that because he's probably near the end of himself, but I mean, Anthony Hopkins could be a really interesting thing if you were to go farther out for this Baylan Skoll situation. Do you want to bring someone who's going to be relatively around the same look? I don't know, but you can possibly kill him off, possibly end the story and have something else take over. So I think there's a number of avenues they can explore. As we said at the top of the show, Dave Filoni is now coming in. How much is Dave Filoni going to be influencing the Baylan Skoll character and where he's going to appear and what he's going to do and what his storyline is going to be? So there's a lot of questions I think that need to be settled by the people there at Lucasfilm. And Laura, you might be right. They're holding on to it and not going to announce it just yet, but they will soon with the Ahsoka season 2. They may also have already made the plans and hash this all out for how they're going to have Baylan Skoll come back, but they don't want to announce that just yet because they want to wait a little bit more time to let things settle. And there's no rush to make the announcement, so why do that too early? But I think there's avenues for them to bring the character back that would make sense within the story of Star Wars, and we'll tell it. And you're right. Like, I hate to break this to you, Samuel L. Jackson will die at some point. Doesn't mean we can't tell any more Mace Windu stories. We're dealing with the death of Carrie Fisher, and eventually we're going to have to tell some Leia stories. Mark Hamill is still alive, but Mark Hamill will eventually die. Harrison Ford will eventually die. Are we not going to tell Luke Skywalker or Han Solo stories? That would be ridiculous. So we're going to have to.
This breaking news from my sources. There's a spin-off story called Skolo, a Star Wars story.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
that's coming.
I thought you were about to say that somebody died. I was gonna be like, dude, don't.
Oh, I'm not gonna look. I try every episode to get canceled. I'm not gonna do that.
Skolo and Luke. Yeah, no, you don't want to. But yeah, I mean, these are the things we have to embrace. And Baylan wasn't even like, an original trilogy iconic character. Like people just really love the performance and of course the tragic passing. So I think people would be much more open to a recasting because they think that it'll honor the spirit of Baylan Skoll and they'll honor the contribution that Ray Stevenson made to that show and to the Star Wars universe as a whole, in my opinion, I think so. All right, anything more on that? Shall we move on?
Let's move on.
All right. Let's move on to the Katee Sackoff portion of the show here. Laura Kelly, I think you're taking us into this situation. More comments from Katee Sackoff, Bo Katan herself here.
Yeah, exactly. So Katee Sackoff was Dinbo. That we call it Dinbo.
Yeah, sorry,
right?
Dinbo watch.
Dinbo. And we'll get to Dinbo here in a second. But I want to talk about this interview that Katee Sackoff did with Direct recently. Yeah, jumping ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin, slow down.
I totally jumped
This is why you're canceled this episode.
This is my last show, everybody. I got the new camera just in time to be fired.
Perfectly in time.
All right. So Katee, anyway, she talked to the website The Direct and talked about the potential crossover with the Ahsoka series. And when asked about it, she says, I can't imagine that they wouldn't at some point. But, again, I have absolutely no idea. They don't tell me anything until I show up with my script in hand. And she goes on to say that Bo Katan has always worked side by side with the Jedi and the Mandalorian people. And I think she sees the benefit of the two groups working together. And I think she would probably think nothing of it other than, wow, that's pretty wonderful. Good for you. Which I think I agree with. And I really I missed some of that interaction. When I went back and watched some of those episodes of the Clone Wars, especially in season 7, those interactions with Ahsoka and Bo Katan are awesome. They're a really great dynamic duo when they team up for a common goal. So I welcome the opportunity to hopefully get them on screen together at some point. I think it's inevitable. I'm sure that it's kind of a given that it will happen. It's just a matter of, will it be in the Dave Filoni New Republic movie or will it be in Ahsoka season 2, which is we're unlikely to see until 2025, I'm sure, if not maybe even later. But I don't know, what do you guys think? I think only good can come out of this. Am I wrong?
Yeah, because she's played the role live action, and played the role obviously behind the mic. So giving her more, and that season 3 of Mandalorian really kind of expanded her even more, giving her more license to appear in these shows, to be a part of stuff with Ahsoka, and have the energy of two accomplished actresses in Rosario Dawson and Katee Sackoff coming together to do this, I think is going to be a lot of fun to see. And it's inevitable, right? I mean, they have to work together, especially because, as Kathleen said, she is focusing more on really highlighting female characters in Star Wars. So bringing those two together, two of the most powerful female characters in the recent Star Wars series, I think makes all the sense in the world. And hell, I would see a movie with Bo and Ahsoka together in some buddy film or duo film where they're taking care of business and going on a mission. So it makes all the sense in the world to have her be a part of it. And of course, maybe even part of the Filoni movie down the road, as people keep calling that thing, like Avengers coming together against Thrawn or whoever may be the big baddie. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I believe it's funny. I just thought they were already in scenes together.
Yeah.
They all kind of blend together to do so much Star Wars TV. But yeah, I think they'll definitely be in the Dave Filoni Superverse Avengers movie together. I think she'll lead the charge of her Mandalorians, and it'll be a glorious, epic scene. She'll be like Gandalf on the top of that hill with all of Eomer's riders of Rohan. So, that's why it's good to have someone like Filoni in charge and making sure that all these things can interact where, they're not just kind of all taking a stab at it and making guesses. So I'm all for it. I think it's going to happen. And I think when it does, we're all going to fist pump it because that's going to be awesome. But yeah. And I think there's another quote too, where she talks about how much of she mentions even like about how they would be an asset or whatever to against Thrawn's army. She goes a little more into detail of that. That's that same article, by the way, I believe, that Vanity Fair article too. So there are tons of quotes all over the place. Oh, actually, it wasn't. There's a different one. Sorry, but ignore what I just said.
She talks about how the Mandalorians will be a military asset, which I think is an incredible point. I think Mandalorians will be very motivated to fight a remnant of the Empire, and it'll be really interesting. I think the idea of Thrawn and Bo Katan kind of facing off, these two like really brilliant strategic military minds kind of coming together against those odds, is going to be, I think, a really great, it's going to play really well, I think. But I also am really curious to sort of see if there's any Bo-Katan point of view with Sabine, with what happened with Sabine's family.
Right.
I would like to see like a little, it'd be nice to see a reunion of those two characters as well as Sabine and Bo-Katan, because they met in Rebels and had some great scenes together. And I think that would be, I would like to get a little bit more detail and dig in a little bit more with what happened with Sabine's family. I don't think I would like to see some of her reaction a little bit more. We kind of got a lot of talk about it, but not really with her. It was kind of talked around her in the Ahsoka show. So to have a little bit more direct approach with that, maybe involving Bo-Katan, and if she had any kind of interaction with them at the Purge of Mandalore, that's something I would love to see, or at least just address.
And they both wielded the dark saber, so why not? You know what I'm saying? That's also an element of this with them that could be something that comes into play in the conversations or in the look of it. That could be fascinating to explore as well. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. But Kevin, something sad was also a part of these quotes. You want to? I know you jumped the gun, but you might.
Why do I have all the sad stories? I have all the sad stories.
You
Marc,
put these in.
Ray Stevenson, and now sad news for Laura.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've already talked about it. But whenever she mentions it again, like you said, I texted Laura and she's like, "Nope, she said it again." So it's all fair game. But in the same discussion, when they were asked if there was any discussion about the two characters, that would be Bo-Katan and Din Djarin. Oh, look at that!
There they are.
I'll make love to you like you want me
Looking
to.
deep into his visor eyes.
I don't want to get you a copyright strike. I know I sound exactly like them. Sackhoff simply stated no, while clarifying there was nothing more than just herself and Brendan Wayne joking around while at work. She said, and I quote, "No, I don't. I think that there's probably just as much speculation in the shipping of the armorer and Bo-Katan. I think that anytime you put a woman and a man together on screen, it's bound to happen. I think that's just one of those things, that speculation that people enjoy. But no, nothing more than just joking around between myself and Brendan Wayne at work. So no, I'm so sorry, Laura. That's got to be a bummer. But, there's still hope. Maybe that they'll, it'll be like Ron and Hermione finally kissing in the Chamber of Secrets in Deathly Hallows Part 2, which I'm sure all you Star Wars fans understand. And the crowd will cheer when they finally kiss right at the brink of death. But yeah, sorry about that. Laura, what are your thoughts? Laura, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so I have a theory. Because I think it kind of follows in sort of how I approach shipping as a fan.
Okay.
What happens with me is that I get really invested and really enthusiastic about a ship, and then the show ends and I get excited about a different show and a different ship, and I get really enthusiastic about that, and I kind of move on, and I kind of just get like over it. And I feel like that's a little bit with what maybe happened here, because I feel like she was really enthusiastic about it, like right after season 3 came out, and she was doing interviews, and like I feel like she addressed it at like one of the Phoenix Fan Expo like events on a panel, and it was like still this great enthusiasm for it, and all of a sudden it's just kind of like, I don't know, wind out of her sails a little bit. Maybe she's moved on to some other stuff she's not thinking about anymore, and she's just like, I don't want to talk about this. So that's me reading really far into it.
Okay.
But I also am unopposed to the armorer and Bo-Katan, because I also thought they had amazing chemistry. So I'm all for either way. But I do like Dinbo more personally.
Yeah.
I know you guys are really invested in this. So what did you think?
Well, I mean, look, it's the first family of Star Wars, for God's sake. I mean, look at that. It's set up so perfectly to see them together, for God's sakes. I mean, look at it. It just looks so good. Bo coming out like a badass. Mando looking around to make sure everything is okay. and the baby there between them.
Is that them at Disneyland Galaxy's Edge enjoying the
yeah, I don't know, but I like this shot. And so, yeah, look, I've never bought into the shipping because it never felt like they were meant to be together. I don't know that Bo would necessarily want to be with Mando. I think Mando's a bit too soft for Bo. And so I've never kind of necessarily felt, I think Bo likes to be with a fellow warrior, and that's why the armor stuff feels more logical in a way, because she is so very much clear about what she is and what she wants to do and where she wants to go. Mando is much more questioning of where he's going and what his role is and what he's supposed to do. I've got a son now. How do I do that? How do I deal with that? So I think for Bo, I don't know that I ever bought those two together. I never bought the Boba Fett madness either. But down the road, maybe there's somebody, and I didn't buy who was the guy that she was friends with and then fought the Darksaber for. I never bought them together either. So Bo's an interesting energy in Star Wars. And I think you'd have to find the right person that felt correct for her to be with and have a romance with, live action wise. And I don't know that we've necessarily seen that person. So it just doesn't strike me as Mando and Bo. But, you never know, maybe down the road. But I think there's someone else that is future thing for Bo as well, because I think she deserves a romance in Star Wars for sure. Whichever way you're going to go with it, she does deserve it as another element or layer to the character that could be fun for us to explore live action for sure.
Yeah, she is a great character, and I mean, go back and watch episode 5 or whatever it is, one with Lizzo and Jack Black. Like, come on, you don't see it when you watch that episode. They're like little buddy cop episode. I mean, I don't know how you watch that and don't pick up on it.
Look, my sources, and I don't want to get too into it, but I heard that Nora Ephron is doing a romantic comedy called When Din Met Bo. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's going to be like a Nancy Myers designed kitchen. It's going to be great.
I don't want all the film guys getting. I'm just, come on, okay. Sleepless in Coruscant. You've got Holo Mail. It's going to be in all these movies together. I'll stop.
Come on, Dinbo the musical. That's the one.
Sleepless in Sundari. That's what done. You're welcome. You're welcome, everyone.
She wins, dude. She wins.
Fan fiction authors, go. Just go.
Have at it.
Ba-bang. All right, so we'll see what happens with Bo Katan. But let's wrap up with a fun conversation, a real quick fun conversation about Star Wars TV in 2024. Certainly that's coming down the road real soon, as I said earlier in the show. And let's talk about our hopes and predictions for these 5 series and which one will possibly end up being our favorite. We've got 5 to choose from here: Skeleton Crew, The Acolyte, Bad Batch. I know that isn't mine. Bad Batch Season 3, Andor Season 2, and Tales of the Jedi Season 2. So, Kevin, I'll go to you first on this one. I went to Laura first on the last one. Your thoughts here: Skeleton Crew, The Acolyte, Bad Batch Season 3, Andor Season 2, Tales of the Jedi Season 2. What are your hopes and reactions for these 5? Which one specifically? And then who do you think will be, which one do you think will be, or do you anticipate being your favorite? Please take it away.
I didn't even realize they were all coming in one year. I know that they haven't really said when Tales of the Jedi, I think, or or Bad Batch, but I don't know, man. Like, Skeleton Crew sounds fun. It sounds like Goonies in space, but I'm just gonna go with the easy pick for me, and I know it's Laura's favorite too. Andor Season 2. I feel like it's gonna be great. I cannot wait to show my wife Rogue One. We're gonna watch Rogue One soon. And then I can't wait to rewatch Andor with her. So I think that will be our appointment viewing together, like we did with the other shows, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan. So I'm looking forward to that. I feel like The Acolyte might be too I don't think my wife, for her, something like Andor, I think she'll be able to latch on to. So I'm really excited for Andor Season 2. Tales of the Jedi, look, those shorts were awesome. It's part of my super watch that I've been telling you guys about now. Like, those stories are ingrained. So those are great. Bad Batch, I always, at first was kind of over it, to be honest. I was kind of over it when it was first announced. And I was like, dude, they wrapped up Clone Wars so great. This felt like just more Clone Wars episodes. But it really kind of started getting me. I mean, especially the non villain of the week episodes, where it was going a little deeper. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that wraps up. Hopefully they all have a happy ending. I doubt it, but I hope they do.
Yeah.
And then the Acolyte's just going to uncharted territory. I feel like that, Laura, I'm excited for you on that because you love the High Republic, and that's right at the tail end of it, right? Or is it the High Republic? Or
yeah,
yeah,
it
High
is, and it'll
Republic.
be the tail end of it, as I understand it.
So yeah, and then I guess Skeleton Crew. That's just going to be very interesting because, like, are they going off? Am I to believe that they are off at that other galaxy that we see at Ahsoka? Like, is that how far off they go? Like, the whispers and rumors of but I do like Jude Law a lot, so I don't know. Like, but to me, Andor, that's the one I'm looking forward to the most. But I hopefully will like all of them. How about you?
Yeah, Laura, what do you got? What are your thoughts on this one? Where do you fall on this one? Which of the 5 shows here? What are your hopes and expectations, and which one do you anticipate would be your favorite?
Well, I misunderstood the assignment the first time I read through this very quickly because I was just like, I thought the question was, are these all going to come out in 2024? And I'm going to be like, guys, yes, we've already covered this. Like, come on. So yeah, that now that I'm kind of on the fly thinking about this again, the Skeleton Crew is one I think I'm least looking forward to be honest. I think I read something recently talking about how that's going to be aimed at a younger audience.
Right.
So that was a little bit off-putting to me, but we'll see. I'm open-minded. I also really like Jude Law, so I'm excited to see what he does in a Star Wars role. Andor season 2, I do think is going to be intriguing. I am excited about the addition of K2SO in the show, so I'm kind of hoping that he maybe brings a little bit of like humor and lightness, maybe a little bit of some of the stuff I was missing in season 1 to the series. So fingers crossed there. I am excited for Tales of the Jedi season 2, and I feel like I've gone back and forth in terms of whether or not I would like to see the High Republic featured in this show. If they're going to go in terms of different characters and not pick back up with Ahsoka and with Dooku. If we're going to tackle other Jedi, like I said, back and forth, because I don't know if I want Dave Filoni to get his hands on the High Republic. I kind of like that it's separate from him, honestly.
Flip that out.
I like the
Instagram reel. Make an Instagram reel.
I know. Yeah, it's going to be a short. It's going to be a TikTok. Put it out there everywhere that Laura hates Dave Filoni. I don't.
Yeah.
I really don't. But I don't know if I want him having any input on the High Republic, just because I like what it is so far without him having had any input, I don't think. And I just want it to stay pure the way that it is. Which brings me to my number 1 that I'm most excited about, which is the Acolyte. I am very excited that we're getting a character from the High Republic books that we've gotten in phase 1 and phase 3. One of those characters who's basically like a child or a teenager is going to be a full-grown adult by the time we get to her story in the Acolyte. A very old adult, but a somehow still alive adult. So that'll be interesting to see how they explain that away. But I'm excited nonetheless. I also saw the trailer at Celebration, and trust me, there's a lot to be excited about. This is going to be an insane action-packed show with, I think, some very different combat elements than what we've seen in Star Wars past.
Interesting.
So I think that there's going to be a lot to like, and I think it's going to be very different. I just think that the feel of it is going to be something that we haven't experienced before, kind of in the way that Andor was something kind of new that we hadn't really felt before with Star Wars. I think the Acolyte's going to kind of go in a sort of similar feel, just in that it's going to be a sort of similar departure.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up, because I am gonna say that I actually feel the same way you do about the Acolyte. That's my number 1.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why. Because I have a weird point of view on things, and I've lived a long enough life that to be afraid of a sequel. And I loved Andor season 1 so damn much that it scares me that season 2 might not live up to season 1. And so I have excitement, but I also have a massive amount of concern and trepidation and fear that it's not going to be as good, or that the people in charge of it are going to be influenced to shave off some of the hard edges because of people's reaction to Andor season 1. And it
because of Laura Kelly.
No,
you're welcome.
But, certain elements of the Star Wars fandom, as we've seen recently, who, kind of try to denigrate Andor as some kind of artistic, weirdly not Star Wars type of show. But I think and I think that's wrong because there's a lot to enjoy in Star Wars that ties into traditional Star Wars. In Andor that ties to traditional Star Wars. So I think people give Andor a bit of a hard rap rather than really giving it time to look at it and revisit it and savor it a bit more. So my concern is it was such a good season. I don't know how they can follow up with season 2 and make it just as good, but I hope that they do. But that's my concern, which is why it's not my number one, because I'm afraid I'm going to be hurt. And so I put The Acolyte up here because I'm so curious to see how this show is going to work and very curious to see this point of view, female run show. I know we had that with Deborah Chow, but this is something a little bit different. And so I'm going to be really interested to see how this works in the way it's being told and how they can advance and expand the meaning of Star Wars, the canon of Star Wars, the stories within Star Wars, these characters in Star Wars. I'm going to be real curious to see. So I have much more expectation and curiosity for The Acolyte to put it. So that's why I put it number 1. Then, of course, Andor season 2, Tales of the Jedi season 2 as well. Because are they going to go the Mace Windu route? Are they going to go the Yoda route? Or are they going to tie it up in a synergy way to be focused on the backstory of characters that they've got coming here in these future movies? I don't know. So I'm really curious to see that, what they're going to do with Tales of the Jedi. Because I'm like, why did you give me all of this with Dooku and not go anywhere with it? I want more of this. This is such a great exploration of Dooku's past. The Ahsoka's past made sense because we had the Ahsoka series, but I wanted to see more with Dooku, and it really didn't lead.
They do. It's called Attack of the Clones and the Clone Wars.
There you go.
And Dooku Jedi Lost, the audiobook.
They should have done Tales of the Sith. That would have been cool.
I'm sure that's coming.
Sure that's coming. Sure that's coming. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Do you think there's any of these that are going to get pushed? That's my next question.
Well, Skeleton Crew and is not going to get pushed at all. And I was going to say Bad Batch season 3. Season 2 was fine. Now I'm kind of out on Bad Batch, so I'm not necessarily excited to see what season 3 is going to be about. So I think Andor of all of them could probably be the one that gets pushed. I think the other ones are much more concretely going to come out. If I was to guess, what about you, Laura? What do you think?
I think Tales of the Jedi could get pushed. I think Bad Batch could get pushed. I think Skeleton Crew was supposed to come out in holiday season this year.
Right.
So that's ready to go. I think I would guess actually that they have Bad Batch ready to go too, to be honest. Right. I don't know. I think people are really enthusiastic for Andor season 2, so I wouldn't be surprised. I think that would be. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that that's a priority. Get that one done and get it out.
Right.
But that's just me. And I don't know where the Acolyte falls in that, because where the storytelling is taking place in phase 3 of the High Republic, we're still really far from where the Acolyte is set. So if the Acolyte if they want to tell more stories in the High Republic phase 3 leading up to that, I have no problem with that.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Kevin? Which one gets pushed?
If any. Well, I would say if any of them, Andor season 2. I just don't know how much they got shot before they had to strike, or if they shot it all. I feel like Bad Batch was probably already in the can. Maybe Tales of the Jedi would probably be easy to throw together. And Acolyte, as far as I'm concerned, that was finished, right? The shooting. So I think the only one that hasn't been, honestly, I don't know. I would say I hope that they all make it in time, because that'll give a lot of fun stuff for us to talk about next season or next year, season, in the season finale of the Jedi Way.
Look, I'm going to bring up one last story here before we wrap up, and this is probably a quick story, but I know this is not on the rundown. But Vanessa Marshall, I got to get you guys' thoughts on this. Vanessa Marshall was
almost had that on the rundown.
Yeah, the recent fan expo in San Francisco, which my friend Maggie Lovett got to moderate the conversation with Ewan McGregor. If that becomes available, I think you can watch it. Maggie is great. But this was Vanessa Marshall. She was on a panel, and they asked her about the idea of going live action with about Hera and all of this. But she joked that she would love to play Mara Jade live action, and said, "Can you call Dave Filoni and just let him know that I'd love to play
There's that
Mara
face.
Jade." So,
there's that face. I knew that was coming. I almost put it on the rundown, but I just figured we already had sad news for your Bodin or Bimbo.
Laura. Okay, so should we go to Laura first? I think we should go to Kevin first, then we'll end with Laura.
All right, I'll be overly enthusiastic about it just to piss her off. Dude, Vanessa
End
Marshall,
on a negative
Mara
note.
Jade, yes. Yes, we got to do this. Are you kidding me? She's going to be awesome. They're going to do Heir to the Empire page for page.
Ooh.
It's going to be amazing. No, but look, I do like the passion in any actor or actress. I don't think that I think they'll probably go, if they ever do it, they'll go with a, maybe a slightly bigger name or, like that, I don't know. But I don't necessarily, wasn't there a rumor that Mara Jade is going to actually be Shin? Like she's going to somehow get off it. And then they'll do the Mara Jade story with her and Luke. Like Luke Shin won't be suddenly redhead in Mara Jade, but maybe she'll end up being, back on the galaxy and Luke will turn her back to the good and they'll be in love. And because remember on that rumor after The Force Awakens, he's standing in front of what looks like a grave. Everybody else is like, remember at the end, right before Rey approached them at the top of the step, there was that like rock, but people were like, that's a grave. That's Mara Jade's grave.
Right.
That's Mara Jade's grave. So you never know. Maybe it's Shin's grave. My sources say it's Mara Jade's grave. What do you think? What say you, Laura? About Mara Jade in live action, and especially I do like Vanessa Marshall.
You're Harrison Dula, Mara. Laura. I mean, she could be Mara.
Yeah.
This is why I was wondering. I'm like, how did I not hear about this? Like the fact that like the actress that played Hera, like that I would have loved to have seen in live action as Hera. Like it's because I have Mara Jade muted. I have that word muted on Twitter because I just don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. I don't want to bring this Legends character into the. First of all, every person that loves Legends is kind of. Every person that loves Legends is going to see her on live action. Whoever plays her is going to hate it because it's not going to be the
100%.
same. 100%. And it's just there's just no way it's going to work. And I also just don't want to be left out of it. I don't want to have to like do all the research and figure out who she is and read all the books. I just don't have time and I don't have the interest. And but I also don't want to be left out. So I would feel the need to do that. So it's a double-edged sword for me. I don't want this. Please no.
I think it would be a hybrid of her, though. I think it'd just be a hybrid of, like, I wouldn't think you'd have to research and look everything up. In fact, I would almost implore you not to, so you don't know like what quite happens to her in the stories.
Right.
Because if they do adapt some of it in their own way, some of it's pretty epic and tragic and cool. And so I would almost caution you not to.
Have you met me, Kevin? I was in a showdown. I do research. This is what I do. I learn everything I can about Star Wars because I have to.
Yeah. There's no.
What do you think, Rocha?
Yeah. Oh, listen, I think it was a flippant comment and Vanessa's having fun. And I don't think there should be much credence given to this. But that being said, look, the reality is, and some of you may not understand this and may get mad about this, but if you're a voiceover actor, most of the times, if that's what you're known for, you're pretty much exclusively that. And it's rare when you get to jump over and be live action. There's a reason that they did not let Lashley Eckstein jump over and become the live action Ahsoka, because they wanted to find an actress who has experience being in front of the camera, much more experience being in front of the camera, and they got Rosario Dawson. So these are these things that happen. With Katee Sackoff, of course, she had already established herself, Battlestar Galactica, other things. So having her jump live action to play Bo Katan makes sense. So it's just a different world when you're looking at voiceover actors versus on-camera actors in terms of the jumping over. Now, of course, voiceover actors, I'm one of the first people. I had 2 podcasts with Yuri Lowenthal where we talked about voiceover actors and the incredible talent and abilities they have to bring these characters to life and love them. But it's rare. Kevin Conroy never transferred over to do live action fully as an actor. It just rarely happens. Rob Paulson, one of the great voiceover actors.
I worked with him.
I've interviewed him numerous times. Worked on a number of live action, smaller stuff in a small scale, never really kind of popped over. So that's just how it happens sometimes. And so I don't think in Star Wars they would necessarily bring Vanessa Marshall to play Mara Jade. I could see Vanessa Marshall coming in to play a character, to play a recurring character in a series, but I can't imagine her playing someone like Mara Jade, which would carry so much baggage. And there's a lot of requirement. Plus, where are you finding this Mara Jade? At what years are we looking at Mara Jade appearing here correlative? And you'd have to have a Luke. So are we recasting Luke? Are you guys really okay with it? What age are we recasting Luke at? So there's a lot of questions that would be involved with Mara Jade coming over.
When I was a young lad doing child acting, I was on a show called Bobby's World, and I didn't quite understand how blessed I was, but I used to sit. My seat was in between Rob Paulson to my left and Frank Welker, who did the dog, to my right. Wow. So I was sandwiched between those two guys, and it was awesome. Frank Welker was really nice. So was Rob, actually. So yeah, they're very talented. Sometimes you don't see Frank Welker out there leading man in the new Uncharted movie either. I don't know why I just randomly said Uncharted. But...
yeah. So
a lot of emphasis on the T.
Uncharted 2, starring Frank Welker.
Sources say.
Sure, my source.
But yeah, so we'll see. But I thought it was a fun comment from her, and I'm sure there's a little grain of truth that she'd love to play the character on live action because Vanessa is such an awesome actress. But we'll see if Star Wars would be.
My vote is for Laura Kelly to play Mara Jade.
Can you imagine?
No.
Can you imagine?
No.
Laura,
I decline.
No,
thank you. No, thank
all
you.
All of her interviews at Celebration are just her like, I couldn't say no to the money, but I hate this character. Like the exact opposite of Ray Stevenson's Celebration interview.
I mean, can you imagine opening your Twitter and everything is like, oh, the wrong choice? Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, brutal.
I can't.
All right, well, there you go. That's our show here for this episode of the Jedi Way. Thank you all for being so patient with us as we took a few weeks off to kind of like wait for big stuff to drop and wait to have a conversation about it all. But I'm sure we'll be back to going bi-weekly as stuff starts to ramp up here into 2024. So look for that happening very, very soon. But we appreciate you all hanging out with us today, whether you're listening to us on the Outlaw Nation Podcast Network or you're watching us here on the Outlaw Nation YouTube channel. We appreciate you all hanging out with us here on the Jedi Way. Kevin, another fun show. Please let people know where they can find you and everything going on, brother man.
I'm happy my camera lasted. Remember, I thought it wasn't going to last till the halftime. The battery's still going good. Yeah, you can find me at Kev Smets, obviously, on all my KOTOR stuff. You can go on YouTube, search KOTOR Movie Trilogy. It's kind of cool, man. Like when I go on hotel lobbies and I'll type in KOTOR movie to see like what a computer that's never searched the terms. And we're up there. We're the top 2 links. So that's kind of cool.
Nice.
I'm really hoping to get Revan to be up there because more people, I think, search Revan these days.
Sure.
But yeah, and then for anyone in Los Angeles this weekend, we're dropping this week, right? Yeah, but it started out as a gag, but a fellow scoundrel, Brandon Hanna, submitted us to the LA Comic-Con panel, and we thought it would just be for a gag, and they somehow accepted us. So get there early. It's going to be standing. Remember, Rocha? It's going to be standing
room only. That's what I hear.
Comic-Con. I think we're at the Hall H of LA Comic-Con.
Wow, really?
Sounds right.
Not at all. I'm joking. But we do have a panel on this Sunday, the 2nd, or is it the 3rd? I'm really...
It's your panel.
I know. I hope I show up at the right day. But if you're at the LA
3rd.
Comic-Con, it's just hard. It's hard to promote it with a lot. I don't think a lot of people are going to the Comic-Con from around the country and stuff like that. But if you happen to be there and you happen to be there on Sunday, come check us out. You can meet myself, and I know Rocha, you're going to be there as a special guest, right? That's what we said.
Yeah, I'm going to show up.
I'm advertising you, so that's how we're going to get butts and seats over there.
I'm gonna show up in my Dinbo outfit, half Bo, half Din Djarin. Yeah,
I would like to see that, please.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, definitely go check them out if you're at LA Comic-Con. See the boys there from Rogues and have some fun with them. Is it Rogues? Is that what it's called? Sorry,
Scoundrels.
Scoundrels. Yeah, Scoundrels. So give them some shit.
Outlaws Inc. was taken by you, so we wanted to call it Outlaws Inc.
So go and check them out. I can't make it up this weekend because I've driven to LA 3 times in the last week, and I am fucking done doing that for a while. So
that's me. I have to. I have to go up twice more from the holidays. So I'm exhausted. I'm going to take the train this time though. So
no, that's smart. Yeah, because the drive up and the drive back kills you the next day. Yeah. Laura Kelly, it's so great to see you. I love having this show with you, and it's always great to talk Star Wars with you. And I love how opinionated you are on all this kind of stuff, especially your Mara Jade hate. It's love. So please let people know where they can find you and all the stuff going on. And if you've been a guest recently on anything, please plug it away.
Yeah, I've got a new podcast called Rogues, actually. No, I don't.
Rogues LLC.
I took it. It's mine now.
Rogues and Scoundrels.
Hey-o.
It's brand new as of 2 minutes ago. No, so the actual podcast that I host with my friend Alice is called Forced Toast to Star Wars Happy Hour. Our November 21st episode, we talked a lot about the High Republic. It was kind of the only thing happening at the time. We did a non-spoiler review of George Mann's Eye of Darkness. It was absolutely delightful. So highly recommend if you have been keeping up with the High Republic, if you've read Phase 1. If you didn't read Phase 1, it might be a weird place to start on the High Republic, but there you go. We also talked a lot about High Republic comics. And it was a blast. So definitely check that out. You can find that show on Twitter at Force Toast Pod, and you can follow me on Twitter at @shutup_Laura. And thank you for all those nice things you just said, John. I had so much fun getting lunch with the two of you and actually getting to hang out in person. It was so great. It was so much fun. And I really enjoy doing this show with you. So I'm glad we're back.
If you want to know what lunch is like with us, it's basically this. Like, that's why I like this show. I feel like when we were at lunch, like sometimes you just don't know, like we hadn't been together all as a group, like in that setting, like aside from like Schmodown events, stuff like that. But it just felt like if you had a camera and a mic, that like we were on a podcast too, which goes to show that you're getting our best and our real selves here. I feel so. That's why I love being on this show so much. And thanks for having me.
Ditto, brother. We love having you
on my last episode. I know it's see me on Rogues. Rogues and Outlaws.
Rogues, Outlaws, and Scoundrels. You can find me you guys know, you can find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And of course, please head on over to my Twitch, The Outlaw Nation. I have moved my PS5. I've cleared space on the desk. The PS5 is now sitting here next to the monitor. So I will be Twitch streaming a lot more than I have before. So come and follow me there. I've picked up the Spider-Man 2 game, which I'm going to be playing. I picked up Madden 24, and I bought a used copy, so people don't come after me, of Hogwarts Legacy, because I'm a Harry Potter guy. How can I not play that game? But none of my money went to Jake.
You're a character in it. You were not in the game. You were in the Wizarding world. So
yeah, exactly. So come and watch me have some fun. Plus, I'll do some Twitch only shows that'll be a lot of fun as well. So let
me know what house you get sorted into. That's what I want to know.
I hope Ravenclaw.
You seem like a Hufflepuff to me.
No,
it's the meanest thing you've ever said to him.
I know, right?
I'm a Slytherin, dude. That's what I do.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
That makes sense.
Every day I'm Slytherin.
Can't plug his camera in. All right. Anyway, thanks so much, everybody, for hanging out with us. You're the best. Need a Ravenclaw to help his ass plug it in. You guys are awesome. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to us. And please take care of yourselves. Be well. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of the Jedi Way. And Laura, what do we have to tell them?
Until next time, Rogues, remember, your focus determines your reality.